Detroit and Buffalo, right? We talk about this matchup, and the teams are so good now, and they've been good long enough that I think at least some people aren't immediately thinking, oh, these two beleaguered franchises where fans have been waiting a long time. But that's kind of what it is. And like to think about that it could be a Super Bowl preview, I would love to see this Super Bowl, but somebody would have to lose, which is like maybe I wouldn't love to see this Super Bowl because if somebody lost a Super Bowl out of these two teams, I don't know what would happen. You look at the fan bases, you think, I think what's so interesting is you just put them in the same bucket. And they are in the same bucket, but they're a little bit different. Like Bills fans, the way I read them, they're a lot of fun, right? Like Bills fans are fun. And I think some of the self-deprecation leads to that, like going through what they went through in the 90s. You got to have fun. You have no choice but to have fun. But it was also fun to root for those teams. Like they were there, they were good. They just didn't win one. And the losses had to be devastating, but they were there. And they have a culture. They have Hall of Famers. You know, Jim Kelly still hangs out in Buffalo. Like Buffalo is like, it's a net positive to play for the Bills, although they had that heartbreak in the 90s. And they have Josh Allen, and they've been knocking on the door for a little bit. But Lions fans, I think it's a whole different thing. The state of Michigan's pretty edgy anyways. Like if anybody knows somebody from Michigan, that person's edgy. Now, I don't know how much that is a product of the decentralization of the automotive industry coinciding directly with the fall of the Lions after the 50s. But like, it had to be tough to be a Lions fan growing up. And like, imagine never having been to a Super Bowl, let alone an NFC championship, having won one playoff game, I believe it is, just one. They went 0-16. You know, I did the math, and maybe I fucked the math up, so don't quote me, but from 96 to 2010, I think they won 75 games. It's like 5 games a year, right?
Yeah.
So not very good. That's what you've lived through if you've been a Lions fan. Some Lions fans are like, why are you reading my record here? Okay, but I'm going to get there. 2 players retired early. Your best 2 players retired early. One just started coming back. The other one won a Super Bowl in L.A. Okay, so that's your best 3 players. 2 of them said, fuck this, I can't do it anymore. The other one left, one in L.A. You beat them in the playoffs, but that doesn't make things all right, right? And that stadium's going to be full of people this weekend who have been through that, which is why I don't think we make a big enough deal about Detroit's home field advantage. Like, I think this is going to be a really tough place to play this weekend. It always is. And then the personality of the Lions. You talk about what are the keys to the game for the Bills. I'll get down to one. You can be as bad as you want on defense, but Dan's going to go on 4th down. So how are you in the money down situations? This is really interesting to me. Lions are known to be pretty good on 4th down, right? They have the personnel for it. They're aggressive. They're not afraid to do it. They're 80% at home on 4th down. That's a big difference. They're like 42 or something on the road. That's wild. That's not like just by chance. When they have you in their house, it feels like, hey, you're in our world, motherfucker.
Yep.
And like, there's nothing you can do to stop this train. And obviously on 4th and 2, it's a lot quieter at home. Detroit Lions fans have high football IQs, right? They know you can't make noise. They can get in their operation. But I also think it's something about playing at Ford Field. And so it's a really tough situation to walk into for Bills fans who are probably scared to death of how this defense looks because at different junctures this year, when you play a good team like the Ravens, right? Or, you played last week the Rams. Like, you're giving up a lot of yardage. You're giving up yardage on the ground. Last week, the zones were expanding. Matt was picking you apart. Play action was working. I think this is the part of the game for me that it's going to come down to is like, how are the guys in the back end? How are their eyes? Because you got a couple guys who might be down. Nolan, give me the DBs that are down as it stands today for the Bills.
Yeah, so Rasul Douglas and Taylor Rapp have not practiced, and then DeMar Hamlin actually popped up in the injury report yesterday with a back / ribs issue.
So I don't know, guys. Like, for me, if I were Babbage and I were McDermott, and I thank the good Lord that I am not them this week, I'm thinking we got to commit a lot of bodies to the run game, right? Like the boxes are going to be loaded. When in doubt, we're going to be in base. But I think that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous because if you watch the tape last week, the Rams were able to get on the perimeter. And the Lions are going to be able to get on the perimeter and then some. You think about the Rams getting on perimeter, they're going to run stretch. They're going to get the ball out to Puka on a screen. They're going to get it out there right now. Like, you got to worry about Jamison Williams on a jet sweep. You got to worry about Jahmyr Gibbs a whole bunch of ways. You got to worry about the run game traditionally. And then you have to worry about the play action that comes off it. So I really do worry about, and I think it comes down to this, if they commit bodies to stop the run, when Detroit gets into play action, can you handle those crossers and all that traffic crossing your face? As a backer, as a second-level defender, you got to have good eyes, right? And I think ultimately, if I had to choose, and I was Sean McDermott, I would choose to be aggressive and find a way on early downs to get them behind the sticks. I know it's easier said than done, but I would bring pressure. And I'll be damned if the Lions hit some big plays. No big deal, because they were going to take 6 minutes to get there anyways. The Bills like to sit in too high. There's not going to be a lot of bodies in the run game sometimes, and they're light in the ass, generally, on defense. This is a bad matchup for their defense. So I will be very impressive. I will be very impressed if Sean McDermott finds a way to keep the points down. And I think one of the ways you could do that is early in the game, bringing pressure, getting them behind the sticks on early downs. And if they hit a big chunk, let them hit a big chunk. I'd rather that than them going 8 minutes and Josh just sitting there on the bench getting cold.
Now, did you take Detroit minus 2.5 on the gambling show?
I did not take Detroit minus 2.5. What I took was the Bills over team total. Now, it could be 40-28, but the Bills are going to score 28 points. The Bills are going to be able to move the football. I really do think that.
I have a $10 futures bet for this to be the Super Bowl.
Okay. How does that pay? How does that pay?
500.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Good bet.
Yeah.
It's a good bet. It's a good bet. I love the gambling talk sprinkled in here because we've already done our show. That'll be out Saturday. But here's what I think is also something people aren't talking about. The Bills playing a wire-to-wire game last week that kind of like, again, I said it like 86 points. Like that can really drain a defense. It can drain the offense. You're straining the whole game. The passing game takes a lot out of the skill guys. And on Thursday, there was so much damn snow in Buffalo that they had to cancel practice. So they were doing like remote work. And that kind of scares me. It does get guys' legs back. There are times in the year where I'm like, hey, man, I really don't need to see what third down has like. Let me just sit down for a day. But I'm only saying that as a guy in the front.
Yeah.
Thursday is a third down day in the NFL. And it's important people realize a lot of your nickel stuff, a lot of your passing down stuff is installed on Thursday.
At least for the D-line.
But DBs too.
Yeah.
Your team period nickel, team period or nickel third down, 2-minute, things like that. I kind of worry about the work that they weren't able to get done there and kind of wonder if that's going to outweigh the fresh legs effect of not practicing Thursday.
But here's the thing too, like if you're not practicing or if you're not able to go to the facility, like a lot of the big time guys, you probably have some sort of recovery stuff at your house.
Oh, no question.
But not everybody has that. So like if you can't get to the facility, like how good is that day off?
Treatment.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you know what I mean?
How good is that day off if maybe you're a guy that's like, hey, like I have no way to really get to the cold tub or the
that's a good point.
Normatex or whatever.
I just think about guys that played a lot of snaps that might not be on the report.
Yep.
And that are saying,
you need some rest.
Hey, I'm just going to chill out today.
Yeah.
We'll get on Zoom. We'll talk about things we need to talk about. But Thursday is a big day for install. And so to get the install without getting the reps, like this practice, whatever they're doing today is a huge deal, which puts a strain on the coaches. It puts a strain on a team that's going to be traveling tomorrow morning, right, presumably to Detroit. That does make a big difference. So they are up against it. The defense is up against it. You think about the things that, I mean, sure, Detroit might say, hey, Ben Johnson might be saying, hey, yeah, it sounds good, Chris. Like, we'll hit the perimeter, but we also might just be able to cave these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to win up front. You're facing the best offensive line in the league. You haven't had a consistent Batman for that group up front. You've got, some Robbins, and Von Miller is still Von Miller. He's older. I know that for a fact he takes it personal that a lot of people have thought about this installation of Von Miller as washed or an afterthought.
Yeah.
This is the type of game where you can go a long way in cementing the fact that you're not done if you can win some rushes. And I actually do think he might win a few rushes over there. As good as Penei Sewell is, some of the movement stuff that he can give him can cause some problems. So guy like Ed Oliver's got to hang in there. These guys can't get knocked out of their gap on front side run. If you're the backside tackle, front side run,
Yep.
one cut downhill, you get nudged, you get caved out of that backside A, it goes downhill. Like when Detroit gets downhill, it can be over in a heartbeat. You want to make them earn it on the ground, and in the pass game, I think you want to be aggressive and make them beat you. Make Jared Goff beat you.
Yeah.
And he's been playing lights out. So I think offensively, the big matchup for the Bills is you got to take advantage of the Meek Robertson matchup with Khalil Shakir, who's been a great slot guy for him. You talk about Cole Beasley back in the day, what he did for Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
This guy does even more. And the guys outside, I would be taking shots, not on 2nd and 10, my biggest pet peeve in the world. But I would be taking the occasional shot. They were in like 3rd and they were in some long down and distances last week against the Rams and got out of it. You can get out of it in one play against the Lions because these guys are handsy outside. So I would test these guys outside. The question for me is, with Detroit getting guys back healthy, Reeder, and our guy, Aleem McNeil, it's going to be hard to run the ball.
Levi.
Yeah. It's going to be Pascal. It's going to be harder to run the ball than you might have thought a week ago. And so this is definitely one of those games where Josh got to put the cape on. They're going to play some man coverage. You know what happens when they play man coverage? Their backs are turned to the quarterback. And that big son of a bitch, that big Clydesdale, needs to get galloping, man, and eating up green grass. I think he can do it, but you're going to have special play out of him. And one more thing. If Decker comes back, does it look like Decker's coming back? He's trying.
Yeah, he's trending that way.
We should a big tip of the cap to Skipper for holding up. I did see the Lions put out a Pro Bowl vote Skipper thing, and I was like, all right, that's a bit rich, but we definitely need to give Skipper some love for what he did without Decker in the lineup, because they had to weather that storm and he helped them.
Can I talk to you about psychology for a second?
Let's talk about it.
It's week 15. And I think that's when your eyes can start to wander to the rest of the schedule, especially when you're just coming off of Kansas City, San Francisco, at LA, now at Detroit. And what you finish with when you're Buffalo is Pats home, Jets home, at Pats, followed by a home playoff game. You're about to be home for a month, and you're probably locked into that 2 or the 3. Kansas City's 2 games clear of you.
Yeah.
Whereas Detroit has to keep the pedal to the metal with Philly just a game back.
They do.
So, you can't go half-assed in the NFL, but if you're picking who the game means more for, it might be Detroit.
I think Buffalo has to – I've just been in these locker rooms where, there is hey, guys, let's win this fucking game and think about how good the reward's going to be. Mm-hmm. Look at the schedule down the stretch, and we can sit there and watch Kansas City and see if they falter, because they could.
Yeah.
That's the type of team that could. They're more than one game back. It would take more than just one hiccup. But I look at Buffalo, and while I agree with you, I think Buffalo's still going to be. It's hard to look ahead of this game. This game is enormous. And I think losing to LA was probably the best thing that could have happened to them, honestly.
But to your point, I think you're right. They're going to be tired after 80 some odd points.
No question. But the Rams defense didn't look tired last night, so maybe I'm wrong on that thing. I think they're going to be tired. But how tired is Detroit? You got to think about Detroit. We're going to get into this in seeding the teams in this green light playoff bracket. They've been throttling teams. They've been beating everybody. They've had guys down. They've had to win with people on defense that, quite frankly, I just didn't expect them to have to win with. And that takes a toll, too. Being up every week, because they are up every week. I kind of wonder. And we talk about like some of these blowouts, guys not coming out of games for them, like Jacksonville late. Like they got guys in late in the game. That Green Bay game was a barn burner. Now, granted, they've had some time, but.
And that's when it's nice to walk into a stadium like Ford Field.
No question.
Not like you're walking into SoFi where you don't have that home field advantage.
No question. Hey, am I pulling for the Bills? Bills Mafia? Yeah, they need it more than the damn Lions do. I mean, well, to your point, maybe the Lions need it more than them. But coming off that loss, it just feels like the cards are stacked against this defense. I have not been impressed with the defense at different turns this year. And this is one of those games that kind of worry. But you do have Taron Johnson.
Bad urologist.
Yeah, I know. That's your thing. Taron Johnson on Amon-Ra St. Brown, if we can get that matchup, is going to be a lot of fun. And, like, I don't know, then you need Tim Patrick to win. You need Sam Laporta to win. You need these other guys to win. And they have. Tim Patrick's done a great job.
TP Streets.
Laporta's had kind of a quiet year relative to last year. Maybe this is a game where he kind of goes off. I don't know. This game's gonna be incredible.